I hope we are live. Hello, everybody. We'll just wait for a few seconds to check if we are actually live before we start. Welcome to Laravel Live Bengaluru 2025, Feb 2025. So if you're seeing this QR code on your screen, then this is our link to the WhatsApp community of Bangalore. So you can join this community, stay tuned for all the updates of whenever we are having meetups. And we do have a few updates here and there. So no spam, make sure you scan the code and join the community. So I'd like to thank all of you who have, who are watching us right now from your homes, and all of you who are, who've traveled in Bangalore and come. We're waiting for a few more people, of course, but we are ready to start. So all good? Are we live streaming? Great. So welcome everybody, and some of you might be new to the Laravel ecosystem itself. Some of you might have been attending from different parts of the country, different parts of the globe, who are part of Laravel community. In any case, I'd like to introduce once of what this whole Laravel Live is. So before that, today's agenda, I hope all of you are, got to see this on Twitter or socials. If not, this is a quick 5 minutes introduction. Right after this, we have the creator of Adonis.js, Harminder Veek, speak about Adonis.js for us. And immediately after that, we have a short lightning talk by Pushpak, and he'll be talking about how you can supercharge your Laravel apps with AI. And then we have a short break. Those of you who are offline here, you can enjoy some hot coffee and tea. But all of you at home, you can probably take a quick break and grab a mug of coffee, tea, snacks, whatever you want, and then come back. We'll have a countdown timer here. And the next talk will be by Punyapal, who's the founder of Laravel Artisans community. Earlier, this was known as Laravel Errors. He is going to talk about how you can refactor Laravel with Rector PHP. So these are the main set of talks. Then we have something new this time. So Karthik here is going to showcase his project. We all have side projects, right? So Karthik is going to showcase his project. And towards the end, we will have Peerless team join us, Yogini and Akash, who they're going to talk something about Peerless and how we can probably improve our online presence and much more. Finally, networking. Those of you who are online probably can network online in the chats. We will keep it open for a while, and otherwise you can network offline here. So Laravel is a PHP framework. Yeah, framework of the language that's apparently dead, right? So because we are not, that we are only more alive every day, I guess. It's booming right now. A lot of people are coming back to Laravel, coming to Laravel, those who were, who used PHP when it was like 5.5, 5.6 and things like that. Everything's changed now. So if you are somebody who stuck to the Laravel ecosystem, great, you know all about it. But those of you new to it, there's a lot happening in Laravel. It's a completely batteries included framework. So there's a lot going on in the Laravel ecosystem, which is why we have conferences around the globe. We have currently 4 official Laravel conferences, which are Laracon US, Laracon Australia, Laracon Europe, and Laracon India. Every year, this is a common occurrence, and we just finished Laracon Europe this month itself, and upcoming next month, March 8th and 9th, we have Laracon India happening. So if this is something you want to learn about, Ahmedabad is the place. I don't know if tickets are still available, so sorry, check that if you haven't registered yourself, you haven't bought the tickets, just check if it's available, you can come down to Laracon India. Now, not everybody can attend all of these conferences. For some people, it's geographically not possible to travel down. And because of that, we have these Laravel live meetups in multiple cities all over the world. And that's what this is also about. We try to meet every month or at least once in 3 months, something like that. So this year, this is our first meetup happening. And we took up this challenge of having a hybrid event. So right now, we have some online speakers, we have some offline speakers. We have online audience, those of you watching the live stream, and we have some offline audience also right here. So this is one of the most challenging setups we've tried. So in case something goes wrong, please, stay a little patient and let us know in the live chat. We'll try to fix it as early as possible. Otherwise, fingers crossed, let's hope nothing goes wrong. So this Laravel Live Bengaluru community was started by Tarun Kumar, and he was the one started, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. Tarun, yeah, that's when he started, pulling in people, whoever is in Bangalore, trying to figure out who uses Laravel here, and he started talking about some of the other new features in Laravel, things about it, and then we continued in the last 2 years. I joined. So currently, Tarun and me, Shruti Balasa, we are the ones who take it forward. Then, yeah, currently this meetup, we are having it in association with Peerlist. If you haven't heard about it, it's one of the social networks that is pretty competitive compared to LinkedIn, but from Indian founders. So that's something you should check it out. There are a lot of jobs that you can find and so many things. I'll talk about it later. And currently offline, this whole setup is happening at Mirar. So that they are our venue sponsors every time, each time. So Lalit is the person who's very kind enough. Any Saturday, you just have to tell him that, Lalit, we're gonna have a meetup, and then he's like, yeah, Mirar is always available. So thanks to them, that's why we're able to, do all of these meetups each time. So I think it's time now we let in our first speaker, who is Harminder Veer. He's the creator of Adonis.js. That's something you might have heard about, and he's currently working with Medusa to shape the future of new age commerce. He's also a dad to a 4-year-old daughter and a cricket lover. Today, we are so happy to have him speak to us about Adonis.js framework. So let's see how it compares to our own Laravel framework. I'm extremely excited to learn about it. So I will just stop sharing my screen and turn off my camera and mic. If Harminder is here, you can take over. So let me stop sharing. Yeah, Harminder is here. So over to you, Harminder.
Sure. So, can you hear me fine? Oh, 1 second.
Yeah, it's perfect. You can go ahead.
Okay, sure. All right. Let's talk about the Lambo framework. But since it's going to be a JavaScript framework, so this is like the only Lambo I can afford. But anyways, on a more serious note, let's talk about Adonis.js. And if you guys like are on the internet, and if you ever see anyone talk, like asking, is there any Laravel in JavaScript, or is there any Rails in JavaScript? You might see people replying and saying, give Adonis.js a try, or like recommending Adonis.js in almost like every single thread. So is Adonis.js really the Laravel of JavaScript is something I will answer at the end of the talk. But first, I will introduce myself. As Shruti said, my name is Harminder Virk. I live in Faridabad. It's a city next to New Delhi, or Gurgaon, if you know that. I work from my home office, got this nice little setup for myself. I created Adonis.js back in 2015, so it's like almost a decade that I'm working on the framework. And I write JavaScript for a living. Now, even though I'm writing JavaScript for almost a decade, I do have a very strong Laravel connection because I started my career by writing PHP in 2011. And somewhere in 2012 or 13, I used Laravel 3. And I used Laravel after using Zend framework and Cake PHP. I terribly failed in using both of them because I was very new into programming, and both of these frameworks, like at least at that point of time, I felt were like over-architected with so many patterns in them, and I wasn't able to like build anything with them. But then I tried Laravel with Laravel 3, and that framework hit different. I was able to understand everything. I was able to build things, and it felt like I can just like go through the docs, understand everything, and find my way around. So I talked to my boss back then, and I shared this framework with him. I told him, if you like give it a weekend, this framework is really simple. We want to build some internal projects. So how about we like give this framework a try and see what happens? So he agreed, and we shipped a project within like couple of weeks. It wasn't a very complex project, but still using a new framework, using a framework for the first time, but still able to like ship something within a couple of weeks was like super nice. I was like very excited, and then life moves on. I got the opportunity to work with Paytm in 2014, and Paytm was like an emerging startup back at that time, so it was a really nice opportunity. I wanted to join, but unfortunately, they don't use PHP, so that means I can't use Laravel. And I joined there as a backend engineer to build like the backend services in Node, which is essentially JavaScript. And when I started using JavaScript in Paytm, that was the first time I, like faced the brunt of JavaScript fatigue, because uh, in order to build anything back then in JavaScript, or in fact even today, you don't find any cohesive way of doing things. You have to figure out, okay, these are like the 200 libraries I can use. Which one should I use? Should I pick the most used one? Should I pick the most maintained one? Or should I use the most, like the newest and the shiny one? Then where do I keep my code? Which folders should I create? What convention should I use? What linting rules should I use? Like there is no guidance. You're like given an empty folder and you have to figure out everything by your own. And this become an even bigger problem when you have to like repeat this exercise with every single project, and then every single project end up looking different. So there is like hardly any standards to follow. It was back in 2014, but I think the story is still the same with JavaScript. And then I thought, okay, let's try to build something which at least I can reuse across projects. And that's where like Adonis.js was born. It was September 2015. I roughly remember that date. And the idea was really simple. It should be a framework with some opinions, so that I don't have to, as I said, like fight the battle of like figuring out things from the scratch every time. Second, it should be batteries included, so that I don't have to again like pull in so many libraries just to do the really basic things. And then like do not worry too much about I would say going against the tide in the JavaScript community. So these were essentially the goals. I worked on this framework, released in 2015, and then like since then I have been maintaining the framework. So I'll give you like a basic overview of how the framework looks like, how the syntax looks like, how we do things in Adonis.js, so that you can compare it like how similar it is to Laravel or any other batteries included framework. So this is how you define routes. You have a file in which you can import the router, and then you can define your routes. You can say router.get, post, whatever HTTP method you want to handle. You define your endpoints, and then you stick a controller to it. So this controller will be responsible for handling the request. In order to create a controller, you can use this node-ace make controller command, give it the controller name. You get a plain JavaScript class with all the methods inside it, where you can write the logic to handle the request. And in order to talk to the database, you can create a model by using this ace make model command. We have a SQL ORM called Lucid. It is built on the active record pattern. So it's like quite similar to Rails active record or Laravel Eloquent. Then within the model, you can define all the properties that you have in the database. And then in order to validate the data, you can create a validator. You define the schema. of the request that you want to validate, like which properties you expect and how they should look like. And finally, when you have everything, you can put them together inside the controller. So for example, out here, oh, 1 second, okay. So out here, I have the index method where I'm using my post model to paginate through all the posts. Then I have my store method where I'm using my validator to request, to validate the request body, and then use my model to create a new record in the database. And then I have the show method where I'm like finding a post by ID. And if it doesn't exist, we will fail. So this is how like roughly, like a CRUD system looks like in Adonis.js. Now, on top of this, we have like all the features that you need in like most of the applications. For example, we have Lucid, which is the ORM. Auth is the authentication layer. Bouncer is the authorization system to write the authorization checks. Fly Drive is a way to basically manage user uploaded files on cloud services like S3, R2. And then we have Wine, which is our validation library. We got health checks. We also have an integration for inertia. So if you want to use that. And Java is our testing framework. So this is how like Adonis.js looks like at the surface area, which is quite similar to any other batteries included framework, be it Laravel, be it Rails, be it Django, like across all these ecosystems. But where things actually change is with the type safety. Since Adonis.js is built using TypeScript, we are able to have like type safety within our entire code base, and we are able to like auto suggest you, like the resources from your system. So let me give you some examples of that. Now out here within our controller, when I validate the request body using the create post validator that we created, out here you can see that my editor tells me that I have access to two properties. One is title, the other one is contents, and both of them are string. And this type safety works with, like even with complex schemas where you have conditional properties or conditional validation, you have nested properties or arrays or everything. So basically you have, like runtime safety and type safety of the user input that you validate. Now, the same is the story with models. When you're trying to create something, you can see like all the properties that you have within your database, and you can type them out. This type safety goes even beyond. And when you want to access the environment variables over there, also you can see, like all the environment variables that you have access to and what data types they have. And finally, also the emitter shows you the list of all the events that you can listen for within your application if you install new packages. And if they emit any events, you will be able to find them here as well. Also, once you will listen for an event, you will be able to see like the data that will be emitted by that event. So that's how like the type safety or the type system looks like in Adonis.js. So the type safety that we just looked at is type safety within our code base. And end-to-end type safety refers to when you are able to have type safety across multiple applications. For example, if you are building a front-end application that talks to your backend and you are still able to have like type safety between them, you can still do that. For example, as I told you, we have inertia, basically an integration for inertia, which is a separate front-end application. But since it's written in TypeScript, we are able to infer all the pages that inertia has and what data they expect. So in this case, when I say inertia.render, I can see all the pages that I have access to. In this case, I only have one page, which is post/index. And once I select this page, I can see the data this page needs. And out here, we can see this page requires an array of posts, and then each post needs a title, description, ID, and some timestamps. Now, I won't get into like all the examples of end-to-end type safety, but one of our code team member built this project called Tuayu, which is a French word. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but Tuayu like takes this end-to-end type safety across multiple applications to the next level. For example, it give you it basically gives you the helpers that can show you all the routes that you have in your backend application and the parameters which are accepted by those routes. It can create open API schemas for you by basically, like scanning your routes, controllers, and validators. It also have, type safety for inertia link. So you have like that link component where you can link to something else. So it also makes that type safe. And finally, it has a RPC client, which is essentially, like a HTTP client to make AJAX or fetch requests to your backend. And that client is also completely type safe. So this is how it looks like. That HTTP client is called 2IU. And from that client, you basically can like access all these resources that you have in your backend application. For example, if you say 2IU.users, that will make a request to /users endpoint. If you say 2IU.users.post, it will make a post request to that endpoint. And it will give you the suggestion of the data that you can post to that particular endpoint. Similarly, if you're paginating something, you say users.get, it will show you like all the options that you can provide for the pagination. So that's how like the type safety layer looks like. And this is like pretty much, like what Adonis.js is. If you have like ever used any batteries included framework, as I mentioned, be it Laravel, Rails, Django, it's a batteries included framework for the JavaScript ecosystem, especially Node.js. And the additional advantage that you have is you have like this end-to-end type safety and type safety within your code base, because we are like using the same language on the back end and we are using the same language on the front end because of that. Now, to specifically answer this question, that is Adonis.js the Laravel of JavaScript? I think all the frameworks or tools are not only about their code, but it's also about the community and the ecosystem built around them. So I think you can like never replicate an ecosystem or a community. Therefore, I don't think like Adonis.js can be the Laravel or the Rails or the Django. Adonis.js is its own thing, but if you just talk about like that one narrow thing, which is using a batteries included opinionated framework, then yes, the philosophy of Adonis.js is quite similar to Laravel. And also, uh, since I started using Laravel as my first framework, it had a lot of influence on me, basically at like how I look at the code or how I want to write abstractions. So that's why you will find like a lot of similarities between Laravel and Adonis versus like Rails or Adonis. So yeah, that's what all I think about. If you have been planning to, like dip your toes into JavaScript, but it all feels very scary, maybe you can give it Honest.js a try and see how it feels. You can always like follow us on Twitter if you want to know what we are working on, and you can like access the docs and the main website via adonisjs.com. So yeah, that's pretty much all from me.
Okay, thank you so much, Harminder. That was pretty insightful. I think you answered a lot of questions that people usually have. So really, that was great. We do have some questions from the audience. So the first one, Akash from Bangalore, he's asking, why is Adonis JS not widely adapted like other JS frameworks? Do you have anything to say for that?
Yeah, I don't think I will really have a definite answer because if I really knew like what the problem is, I would have fixed it. But roughly what I think is the JavaScript ecosystem is like heavily front end influenced. So if you see like all the popular frameworks, they like born out of front end and then they like turn into meta frameworks, or maybe they are trying to do things on the back end. Whereas Adonis started his journey from the other way around. We have no opinions on how you write your front end. You use React, Vue, Svelte, like whatever you want. So you basically like don't get that cult with you right away. That could be like one reason behind it. Other, as I said, uh, we do a lot of things which feels like alien in the JavaScript ecosystem, but it's not like in a bad way. For example, we heavily use classes, but if you go to like most of these mainstream frameworks, you will barely find any classes. Or like the usage of classes. It's not like classes are bad or they have any issues. It's like that's the approach majority of the community took, but we decided, okay, classes feels better in many sense. They help us, like build our dependency injection system, which we can't really like build with plain objects or functions. So these could be like some reasons, but of course, I really don't have like the definite answer.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a very good answer, in fact. So we have another question from Karthik, and he's asking why the name Adonis? Like, probably what inspired or what does it mean?
Yeah, I think it was back in when I was like working in Paytm, and I started like working on framework and the pieces of it, and we had like this private group. In that, I said, okay, I'm like trying to build something open source, and can you like suggest me some names which are around, like beautiful, elegance, and all that? And someone recommended Adonis, and I thought like name was easy to pronounce. It was like easy to understand and all, so I just went with the name. Maybe like after 2 or 3 years, when I started searching about it, then I found like the actual meaning. It had like something to do with the Greek god and all. But earlier it was like just asking a bunch of people in the group, and someone suggested and liking the name and just using it.
Yeah, that's great. I think sometimes you just have to go with it. You can't keep thinking too much about the name, right? The
Yeah.
what is inside matters more. It's a nice, catchy name. There's nothing you've heard about. It's not common, so it kind of
Yeah.
catches. So that's great. So, do you have anything else to say to us, Harminder?
No, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about.
Thank you so much for appearing. Thank you so much for talking. I think we have one last question. Yeah, one last question from Pushpak here. He is, our next speaker, and he's asking, what is your favorite Laravel feature?
What is my favorite Laravel feature? Uh, I think there won't be like any one specific feature, I would say, but I think all these like additional tools that are like even missing in Adonis JS right now, that Taylor or like the Laravel team has built, be it like cashier, or be it like all these starter kits which comes with authentication right out of the box, is like something I would love to have in Adonis as well, because it like level up that bar of people searching for a framework, and suddenly when you see, okay, like within like one line of like basically running like one command, now I'm able to have a registration system. I'm able to have subscriptions, payments, everything enabled. Gives you a different kind of advantage in terms of in comparison with other frameworks. So all that approach of building all these tools around the framework has been really nice, but no one specific framework. Maybe I can say Eloquent is like actually Eloquent. It has so much built into it that I don't think any ORM is able to replicate that. I haven't came across any ORM like Eloquent.
That's great. Yeah, that is true. That is something all of us have experienced, I'm sure. I
Yeah.
think we do have time for one last question. Aditya from Bangalore, he's asking, what do you think about the future of Laravel and Adonis considering Laravel Cloud?
I think these are like two separate communities, and maybe like when you look at the frameworks in isolation, you can say, okay, like we have these things in Laravel, or maybe like these things are not in Adonis, or maybe Adonis has type safety, which is missing in other languages. But usually you start with a language first. Like even if you take my example, I started with PHP, I tried Laravel 3, absolutely loved it, my first framework. But then there were things happening, like outside of my framework life, where I got an opportunity to work with a company which like doesn't even use PHP, and they were using JavaScript. Now, if you are, like in a situation where you have to use JavaScript or TypeScript, now you can't like really make a choice between Laravel or Adonis. It has to be like between two JavaScript frameworks. Again, Laravel is like growing. My Twitter feed is like full of people doing things in the Laravel ecosystem. The guys are building the cloud. I think it's a very vibrant and thriving community. So the future is good. If I talk about Adonis JS, I don't feel like there is uh, like anything that Laravel will do that will make people like not use Adonis JS. I don't think that's the case. As I mentioned, it's like two different languages. Uh, Now, the future of Adonis, we will continue to work on it. We'll continue to build features. It's been like 1 decade that we are doing it, and I still feel like equally excited about the framework and doing things on it. So yeah, we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. It's not like something happening here will affect Adonis. So really
Yeah.
good, and so happy to know that it's been a decade. So it's a very well established framework. That's amazing. So thank you so much once again, Harminder, for taking out your precious time and appearing online. Hopefully someday we'll have you live in Bangalore. So
Yeah, would love to.
until
Would
then,
love to.
yeah, thank you so much. So see you sometime.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
See ya. Bye bye, Shruti.
Bye. All right, so moving on, I need to open. Yes, so that was Harminder, and I'm sure we learned a lot from him and how to, I mean, though there were so many frameworks, there were so many things happening, he took up his side project and he just, pushed through, and he's continuing to do that. It's very inspiring to a lot of us. So I hope all of you are pretty inspired to work on your side project today and bring it back to life. So now we have another speaker right here who's going to take the stage offline. He is Pushpak. He's a software engineer working at Bigly Sales. He has 5 years of experience in the entire Laravel ecosystem. So he's here with us right now. As you know, any meetup or conference or event is incomplete today in 2025 if you don't talk about AI, because that's what we have to endorse right now. We have to adapt, we have to pick it up. So Pushpak here is going to talk about how you can supercharge. I am so sorry for not changing that screen. Yeah, so Pushpak is going to talk about how you can supercharge your Laravel apps with AI right now. So over to you, Pushpak. I will once again have to stop sharing so that he can share. And yeah, you can enter the studio and take over.
Perfect. I hope everyone is able to see me, and just let me quickly share my screen. Uh, Perfect. I hope the audio is also good now. Uh, Let me just quickly share my screen. So we have a very limited time today, and I'm just not sure how I will be able to cover this very big topic in like 15 minutes, but I will try my best. And today, the talk of the topic is how we're gonna integrate the AI, specifically the LLM models, which are like a talk of the town nowadays, into your Laravel application. And I will just start with my talk right away. So that's very simple though. To be honest, there is a HTTP facade, which is like a HTTP client directly provided by the Laravel. You can pull in that HTTP facade. At the same time, uh, you can just start sending API requests to all of this AI provider like OpenAI, Anthropic, DeepSeek, XAI, Mistral, and there are a lot many AI providers. So it's very simple to be honest. Like you start sending API requests to all of these providers, you get response, and you start doing it, and you will be like, that's it, right? Like it's actually that easy to integrate all the AI apps into your system at this point. But today we're not gonna talk about just integrating the APIs. We're gonna see a very powerful Laravel package called Prism, and how this package actually make efficient to do all sort of stuff with Laravel very easily without scratching your head, because all of these things, like all of these APIs and everything, like they are like very platform specific. So we're gonna talk about it, like what exactly Prism do. I'm just gonna show you how it works also. But yeah, let's see. So the first thing which Prism does is like it provides a unified API for multiple LLM providers. What does unified API mean? Like, so using one API only, you can actually interact with a lot of multiple LLM providers. That can be a DeepSeek, Anthropic, Gemini, OpenAI. The main advantage of using this is you don't have to change your API or HTTP implementation every single time you wanted to change the underlying LLM provider. So let's say if you wanted to experiment with new provider, which is like coming every week nowadays, you can easily just change like a couple of lines into your code and you can just start using it without changing a lot of stuff. That is one of the feature of using Prism. Then there is a built-in tool call support. Tool call is nothing but to extending your LLM API capabilities, and they can like literally call your APIs. You can get data, you can fetch all sort of things. So basically, you will give access of specific functions in your system to that LLM or whatever the provider you are using. The Prism also offers multimodal capabilities. So by default, you will be also sometimes needed to analyze images, analyze PDFs, and everything. So Prism has that capability inbuilt. So it's very easy to use images and PDF to actually run AI or prompts, your prompts on the images and documents. Then there is the structured output as well. Structured outputs, by using structured output, you will get data in a very specific format. So some of the provider has this functionality where they natively support structured output. Some of the provider doesn't support structured output at this point, but there is like adapted support which has been created by this Prism package for you. So even if your underlying provider does not support structured output capability, you can actually extend using the Prism. And then last is the embedding support. So you can actually generate the embeddings using different providers. There are a lot of embedding providers you can generate it. The benefit of using embedding is you can actually build your own RAG system, RAG system, by which you can also like use these embeddings to have a semantic search, then recommendation engine of sorts, and then also a RAG system if you want to provide that data again back to LLM. You can then efficiently store all this big data, chunk them, like, and then just pass that required data to the LLM every single time you want to pass any additional context. So that embedding support is also there. The only thing is there is no vector support. Like the Prism package does not give you the functionality to store the vector embeddings. That decision is still, you have to maintain that. You can use any vector database to store embeddings though, but it only generates the embedding based on the different providers. So we will just dive into the usage and we'll see how exactly the API looks like. So the first thing using all these LLMs you can do is you can do all sort of things, even with the ChatGPT, Claude, and everything you have seen, right? You can just ask question and then it generates bunch of text output. And you can just start doing that though. It's API is very simple. Once you have installed Prism in your system, it's a simple Laravel package. You just use this Prism facade and then just call this text method. and then pass this, which provider do you want to use. So there are multiple provide Prism support. All the leading AI LLM providers is supported by the Prism at this point. And you can just pass which provider do you want to support. For this case, I am using Anthropic, and in Anthropic, I want to use this specific model, Claude 3.5 Sonnet. And I will just pass my prompt, like this is like the same thing which you pass to the ChatGPT, this prompt. Like tell me a short story about Laravel, and then you can just generate the output. Once you call this generate method, it will behind the scenes, it will gonna use the Laravel HTTP client, and based on that provider you have selected, it will just take the prompt, pass that same format, and transform that API in that specific provider specific API, and then just call that API, get the response back, and again that response will be into a unified response, because then you also have to work with the same unified response across your system. So that's it. That's easy to get started with the Prism. So I have also created one Laravel app though, which I can actually show you guys to see how exactly this text generation works behind the scene. So if we just click on text generation though, I'm just passing the same prompt here. Tell me a short story about Laravel developer in Bangalore. So I'm currently using Gemini provider, and this is like a model tokens. And I will just show you the code in a minute though. So this is how the code looks like on the back end. By default, I'm choosing the Gemini provider. Like I'm just created a lookup table to which model I should use. On the Prism text, I'm passing the provider and model which I need to use, and I'm just telling, tell me a short poem about Laravel Bangalore developer. I just will zoom in a little bit, so if you can just see that. And then I'm just passing this to a view, and I'm just getting it, the response, whatever has been written by the LLM, and some extra data, like how many token it has used, how many output token it has used, and I'm just showing that on the front end. That's how it works. The good thing with Prism is I told you, like you can just easily switch the provider without doing a lot of stuff, right? And you see, right, it's very easy to change the provider and model. Like you have this something called in your code, and you can just dynamically switch it. So the way I can show you guys is like currently it's using Gemini. I will just pass like a parameter which I need to use. Like in this case, this is using Grok, and the model it's using Llama 8 billion 8192, and here's the poem generated by the Grok in this time. This is how easy to shift like a provider with if you start using Prism. So you don't have to like go ahead and change a lot of code, your entire client implementation of that API. You just download this package, change the one provider and the model, and that's it. That's easy to change this. So we'll again go back. Also there are like, this is also an API, like they also have an API to change different functionalities, which is provided by most of this LLM, which is like you can pass with max tokens, how many max token it should generate at one time. You can set up the temperature and everything. All the things you can actually find it on the Prism documentation. I will not go into much deeper here, but you can actually configure all of the things here though. And if you just go here, this will still work though. Yeah, in this case, it only generated the token with only 50 tokens. So you see the completion token was only 50. And yeah, this is how the text, like a normal text generation work in Prism. Let's see the next stuff. So there is also sometimes, like this is a basic text generation. Sometimes you have to pass a system prompt. System prompt is nothing but the consistent way of telling LLM that this is how you should behave in different times. So like if you want to make your LLM behave in a specific way, or maybe having a persona to that LLM, you can actually pass this system prompt, and then it will always follow those instructions mentioned in the system prompt. And the way it like, most of the LLM provider actually support this, except Anthropic, where in Anthropic you have to manually pass that. So again, if you change the implementation, you actually have to change a lot of things into your code base. So Prism actually take care of that for you. And we will also see the code for this. It's actually the same API, only with extra method you call, which is you are a Laravel expert. which is like a system prompt for it, and then you can just ask any Laravel questions about it. In this, most of the cases, the system prompt is very big. Like even if the chatbots you use, like ChatGPT and Claude, they have a very big system prompt and like mentioned everywhere, so that every single time you type something on ChatGPT, there's like big system prompt which actually sent to the LLM response, and then that LLM actually answers that based on that system prompt. So you can actually look out for the Anthropic, because only Anthropic has open source their system prompt at this point, and you can look at their system prompt, how exactly they are adding so many things and how to change the behavior of the entire LLM model. We will gonna see how exactly it works in the code though. So I have like the good thing about Prism is you can actually store your prompt into the Blade engine itself, which is like one of the favorite templating engine. Like it's a very powerful templating engine. You can do all sort of stuff. You can add variables and all sort of stuff, and then on runtime you can actually get the string directly compiled from the view itself. So I have this prompt called, this is a system prompt where I'm just passing this into XML tag identity. You are a Taylor Otwell, the creator of Laravel. Your passion is clean expressive code, and just like a kind of a identity, like a persona of this entire. Let's say if you are building chatbot and you want to talk with a Taylor, you can actually use this to build the personas. So you have to craft the system prompt like this, and then in instruction, I just added like your helpful assistant that can answer question and help with task. And let's say I'm just gonna run this code. It's again gonna use Gemini by default. Who are you and what's your favorite feature in Laravel though? So I'm just gonna go with system prompt. So in system prompt, I'm again using Gemini provider, and you see now, when I pass with system prompt, it's now saying that, hey, I'm Taylor Otwell, the creator of Laravel. It's a pleasure to be here and chat you about all the things web development. If I had to pick favorite feature in Laravel, it will be definitely a eloquent ORM, which we know like Taylor really like the eloquent ORM. And that's how you can actually configure the behavior of the entire LLM with passing just a system prompt. I have also crafted this for Harminder though, where you can just like, it's again same prompt. I have added some extra stuff, and we'll just run it again, and you see, again it has generated. I'm Harminder Vink, the creator of Adonis.js, a modern Node.js MVC framework. Regarding Laravel, I particularly admire Cashier package for its billing system, as well as the Larasonic starter kit. I know it's really great though. And yeah, that's how you can actually configure it. Let's come to the tool and function calling then. So tool and function calling is like no doubt the most important feature if you are gonna if you're gonna integrate the AIs into your application. Like tool and function calling is definitely something you have to use. Even if you are building any agentic workflows, right? Like where AI takes care of like setting up the new task, like what exactly the task it needs to do. You have to start using this tool and function calling. And if manually you have to implement this, there is like very pain. You have to do a lot of things to format the response, and then based on response, you have to call that function, then pass that output again back to the LLM. So this is very lot of stuff you have to do if you are manually implementing it. Prism actually takes care for you, and it's very easy. Let's see about it. So for example, in this example, we're gonna take LLM doesn't have a real-time data, right? So to give that real-time data access, we have to use this tool. Like we can use it for any of the cases though. Like if you want to give any API access, data access, which LLM want on demand, you can actually use tools for that. But for this, like I have created a very simple code called weather tool, where you get the current weather condition and the parameter which it needs to call, right? It's the city to get weather for, and then you just pass this using where you pass the function. And also there is like a way, this is like a very short definition of how you can actually implement the tool, but there is like class-based definition of if you have very complex tools where there is a lot of things happening, you can actually also use a class-based tool system. And that's how, like, you call the API over here, you get all the information, process that API, and you just pass this response back to this. And the way you can use all this tool is basically just the same API where like you call the text method, or you pass the provider, which model you want to use with prompt, what is like whether like in a Paris. You have to pass this with with max steps in whenever you're gonna call tool call, because this is like an infinite loop kind of thing. So whenever you're gonna call the tool call, so LLM will say you that I need to call this tool with this parameters, and then based on that parameter, the response will again stream back to the LLM, and then LLM will, based on that response, will give you that response again. So that's how this entire loop works, and you don't get stuck into infinite loop. There is, like you mentioned this, how many max step you need to generate the output for. Always you can keep it like, most of the time you will know what value you have to set, because how many times you have to do this entire steps, like this loop. But yeah, you will get the idea with that. And then you just pass with tools. This is like an array. Like this is not only one tool. You can actually send like almost as many tools as possible. Depends on how many your providers support. And you just pass the array of tools which which you want to give access to the LLM. And once you generate this, you will get a response, and you just call the text property on that response, and you will get the response, whatever is the response from that weather tool. So we'll also see the demo for that. Let's click on tool calls. But before that, let's see the code first. The tool call is also the similar implementation, the code which I showed you guys. This is like a tool which I'm defining here, and I'm passing that tool here. Now, LLM first, in the first step, it's gonna say that I want to, what is the weather in Bangalore? So LLM is gonna see, I don't have this information, but there is a tool definition with the weather. I can actually use that, and then it's gonna send you the response back that I don't have this information, call this tool for me, which is like a weather tool. Now, weather tool will be like just executing this function. And then that result of that function is gonna again pass to that LLM in the second step. Like, so the first step interaction is like, first LLM send that to LLM, and LLM decide which function needs to be called. Then that function executed, and then the response of that function is again sent to the LLM back, and then again the response will be sent back to you. So that's how it's entirely work behind the scenes. And I will show you, like, if I don't use tool and with tools, how exactly the thing will happen. So for tool calls, I'm using Gemini again, Gemini 2.0 Flash. Currently, you see the weather in Bangalore is sunny and 29 degrees Celsius, because I have hard coded it. I don't want to call any API to get the weather, but you get the point. Like, you can call the API here, whatever you want to. Like, if I change this like 45 degrees Celsius and I refresh it, yeah, you see this has been updated. The weather in Bangalore is sunny and 45 degrees Celsius. I have also added one extra section in this to show how exactly the tool calls are being, like, this is a tool call which got called, and the argument which was passed by the LLM itself. Like, so it will pass this argument to this tool, and then the result of that tool call was the weather in Bangalore is sunny and 45 degrees Celsius, which was being passed over here. Just to show you guys, if I don't pass the tool call, what exactly will happen. And see, it will just say that I don't have access to real-time information, and to give that extra information, we are just using tool call though. Again, you can do with all this functionality though. The only problem which I see is that some of the provider doesn't support tool call though, right? And that can be the problem. So you always have to make sure that the model and the provider you are using actually support tool call under the hood. So this is also one thing. Let's go back to the slides and let's see about the structured output. The structured output is also a good way to integrate most of the things. Like if you are doing some named entity recognition or something like that in your Laravel apps, you can actually use the structured output. It's a much better way to use LLMs. So let's say you can actually give the PDF and then ask to extract some certain variables from that PDF, or maybe pass the image, and then from that image you can ask LLM to extract certain things, and that LLM will actually give you the response in the JSON format or the format you want to. Like some providers, and the problem with structured output though is like some of the provider natively support structured output. Like you pass this in API, they give you the structured output by default, like in a very strict mode. If they can't pass that, they will just throw the error. But in some cases, like some provider actually does not support structured output. So in that case, what you have to do is you have to add extra prompt in the Prism that like this is the structured output I want. Give me always in the JSON format. That can work sometimes, depend on how much powerful model and how much intelligent model you are using. But that's like, it's like a gray area. So again, if you are using it in production, always use the provider which actually natively supports structured output. There are two ways. One is a strict way, which I already talked, like OpenAI, Dipstick actually prefer strict way, like they support strict mode. So you can actually get the data in a JSON format directly from the LLM. But in some cases, they will be like a normal JSON mode where they will be just sending the string in the JSON format, which you have to parse yourself and then validate that and make sure that everything is there. So we're gonna see how exactly structured output work in the Prism though. So you have to create a schema of sorts with this object where you can define a name, description. It's like just a property to make sure, like sometimes what happens, right? Whenever you have that adapted support where you need to pass the extra prompt, you have to do this extra thing, like why it's necessary, like how much, like what is the description of that entire schema. And then there is a properties, like it can be like there are many data structures are supported, like enum, numbers and everything. You can look at it on a docs though. Like for example, let's say you want to, from a very big article, you want to get a title of that movie, you want to get the rating, and you want to get the summary of that, like a review summary for that movie review. And this is like again, this is a way to tell that this is a required field: title, rating and summary. The way you can use is, instead of now using text, you have to use a structured method on the Prism facade. The same API is there, sorry. Yeah. Where you pass the provider, you pass the model which you want to use. You also, like in case of the tool calls, you are passing with tools. In case of the schema, you have to pass with schema. And then you just passed with like what is exactly the prompt. So here I want like review the movie Inception. And whenever you're gonna call a generate method, based on the provider you have used, right? It's gonna call that structured output. If there is a support for the adapted, then it's gonna add that extra prompt and then pass it to the LLM. If there is no direct support for that structured output, then it's if there is a direct support for that structured output, it's just gonna pass that extra variable into the API call that I need that in this structured format, and that's how it works behind the scene. And you get the structured property on this entire response, which you can just query. It will be the array, the same object you have passed in this with schema. Let's also see that. Let's quickly see that how the structured output works. I will quickly show you the code for that. I'm using the same code which I've showed you in the slide. And this is how the output looks like, the generated text. For this, I am using OpenAI though, because it works most of the time and I don't want to take the risk of using any free tier model. And you see, like, this is the property we got it, like the Dark Knight, sorry. I'm okay. Yeah, this is the Dark Knight, the rating is 5 out of 5 and the summary is this. Quickly, let's go to the embedding. So embeddings we already talked about. It's a vector representation of the text data or any sort of input you wanted to get into. You will get an array of numbers of floating integers by which you can actually map them into the 3D space, and you can actually find the relative elements like easily. So there are multiple embedding models offered by the LLM providers. It's used for the building RAG applications, semantic search, recommendation algorithms, and all sort of things. So for example, I'm using OpenAI, I'm using this model, sorry. from input your text goes here, and you just basically whatever you need to generate the embedding for, you pass that over here, and then you just generate the response for this, and then you get a embeddings property on this response, which is like a array of floating integer, which you can just store it in a vector format, and you can just check how many token that embedding just cost you. So we're just gonna see the example of embeddings. Again, the same way I am running the code. I'm using Gemini here and using text embedding 004 model. I'm generating the embedding for this Laravel Bangalore fave meter, and this was the embeddings which was generated. It's a big array. I'm just showing the first 5 values. Like you can also see minimum value, max value, and average value, which is used to calculate the distance between two different embeddings though. And that's mostly about it. So yeah, that's mostly about it. And that's how easy to use the Prism package. You can see on the screen, this is how the support for different providers looks like at the moment. And if you feel like this is not, like your provider is not supported, you can just contribute to the package. It's very early package at this point, so every contribution is welcome. And yeah, I'm Pushpak. You can find me on internet with this username called Pushpak1300, and that's it. Perfect.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so we do have a couple of questions. Am I audible? Maybe I have to move a little closer. Yeah, so we do have a couple of questions. Thank you so much for the talk, by the way. It was pretty detailed and really very insightful. So first question is from Akash again from Bangalore, and he's asking, will AI models in the future reduce the developer sizes in the company? I think most famous question is something, yeah, do you have an answer for that?
To be honest, it's a gray area. To be honest, it's a gray area. I don't know what will be the answer of that. But according to me, I don't think the development is going anywhere, to be honest, for next 15, 20 years. And according to me, it's very difficult. Like it's no one can predict that actually. And I feel there will be like the more we adopt AI, there will be more development work required. And yeah, that's the answer.
Right, yeah, I think it's the same. So there's another question from Jigger, and he's asking, does Prism throw an exception if tool call is used for the provider that doesn't support it?
Yes. So Prism, the one good benefit of using Prism is out of the box, all this testing support, exception handling is done by the Prism package itself. So Prism actually throw the exception for you if any specific, like let's say for one provider, the embedding is not supported. The Prism will actually throw the exception if you try to use that. And same goes with the tool call and any sort of the functionality. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. So I think that's about it for the questions. So here we are done with two speakers, and now it's time for a quick break. So those of you who are watching us online, maybe we do have about 25 minutes. So I'll set up the timer here. You can see and accordingly come back. And those of you here, we'll just talk to the speakers. We just talk to each other. So see you again in 25 minutes. All right, we are back from our short break. Everybody here is also assembled back, and I hope you got a good one. And now we have somebody very interesting to talk to us about refactoring Laravel with Rector PHP. I'm sure all of you know him. He's a very, what do you say, famous personality online. You will see him very active in the community as well and on the socials. So Punyapal Shah is a Laravel artisan, dedicated open source contributor, engaging speaker, and creative content creator. He is a core member of the Pinkery project, which you might also be aware of, and a proud founder of the Laravel Artisans community, which was previously called Laravel Errors. I think there are like more than 5,000 people in the community right now, pretty
3,000.
active and very useful to the people. And as a full-time freelancer currently, Punyapal collaborates with clients across the US, UK, and Europe, bringing Laravel mastery to diverse projects. So today he's going to talk about refactoring Laravel with Rector PHP. So if we have Punyapal here right now, let me just stop sharing my screen. And yeah, there we go. Over to you, Punyapal. Just enlighten us with your talk. Can you speak? We are not able to hear you.
Hello,
Yeah, good.
hello. Yeah. So, hello community. How are you? So basically, like I'm Punyapal Shah, a open source contributor, as all Shruti said already. So like you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and any such more social medias, posting such tips and memes about the Laravel and PHP community. You can find me on any social media with the Mr. Punyapal username. If you cannot find me, I'm not there. Okay. So what is Laravel community? So we are more than 3,000 members at Laravel community, sharing tips and news, helping each other on a daily basis. So, like our today's topic is refactor Laravel with Rector PHP. So, what is Rector PHP and why? So, firstly, it is an automated refactoring tool for PHP projects. So, it is like you run a command and your code get refactored automatically. It supports framework like Laravel, Symfony, Cake PHP, PHP Unit, and other. It also help us to upgrade our projects from lower version to newer versions. It also help us to clean up our code, like some date code we forget to remove. It it keeps our code more modern by like and making sure we are following the best practices. It ensures the error-free and consistent refactoring. That means if you are doing all this stuff manually, maybe we forgot refactoring some of amount of the code, but with Rector, the all of the code will be refactored in the same way, so it will be consistent, and it can be also integrated into CI/CD pipelines. So you can check if someone is doing a PR or merging some uh, PRs, like the all code is following the best practices and there is no unnecessary code, right? So, like Laravel, Rector PHP is basically a composer package created by Thomas Waterba, and like at the end, if you like Rector PHP, like consider following him and sponsoring him. So, how to get into the Rector PHP? So it is like as I said, require one composer package called rector/rector, and make sure you include it as a dev dependency, because it is nothing to do with the production with the rector. After that, you can run like vendor bin rector space process, and if you haven't already created a config file for the rector, it will ask you for like if you want to generate it. If you say yes, and it will generate it the configuration for you, and after that you can run command again and it will do some refactorings for you. After that, you can see Rector will automatically check for your directories and see if there is some PHP files, and it will automatically list some of the paths in the configuration, and then you can again run the rector PHP and find out like what kind of code can be refactored. So let's see some code. So um, okay, so this is our config, and I have defined that we need these kind of this all the paths to run a rector, and I already defined that I am working right now on PHP 8.3, right? So let's run our first run. So if you just want to check what kind of refactors your app is needing, then you can run the rector with dry run. Otherwise, you can directly process the rector. So let's dry run and see what it has for us. So it is saying that you are on PHP 8.3 right now, and PHP 8.3 have introduced new attribute override, and this method is what we can say, it is overridden from the parent class. So you may write this override attribute over on the same file. So let's see if app service provider has that attribute or not. So it doesn't have, right? And when I run the same command, okay, what's that? Okay, it was dry run. Let's see, again running. So whenever I run the rector again, what it will do is it will add that override attribute to our application, right? So that is what our rector does for us, to. So but what if I don't want to what we can say use this override attribute? So we have like with skips, and we can define that my uh, app is not wanting that particular rule. So you can check that we have rule defined whenever the output was there. So it is saying that add override attribute rule was used when this all the refactoring were applied, right? So again, I will go and remove this override attribute and run the same command again. It will say, okay, there is no changes to be done. So what we say that we don't want to apply this particular rule into my app, right? So basically it comes with PHP 8.3, so we need to skip it. Other than that, you can also say that I don't wanna apply all the rules in particular directory. So if you want that your rules are no shouldn't be run at taste, you can directly define that if some of the taste are there in app directory, you can define like this. Even you can say that I don't wanna run particular rule in a particular directory. Even you can define some regex that wherever the file name ends with taste, I don't wanna convert my closures into sorted syntax, right? So this is how you can skip all the rules. Then we also have one configuration like with rules, and there you can define that what kind of rule you wanna run. So, let's try to check if we have one rule that we can run. So it is said remove unused for each key in rector, right? So what that stands for? If you have like for each, right, and if you have an array of 1 to 3, and what you are doing is $C plus or equal to your value, right? So basically the key is not have been used here, but we have defined. So what if I run this rector rule again? So that will remove that key from our application. right? But that is also saying that variable is not defined. So we need to just say array to here, and warning is will be gone. And even it is also saying that you are ignoring one of the function, but it is never used or registered. Okay. So this was like how you can define rules. Again, we also have something like with presets. So Rector PHP already have some presets defined for us, right? So we have lots of preset. Let's start with the code quality preset, which is uh, help us to improve our code quality. So let's see, let's run the code and see what code is changes for us. So whenever you update the config, it will run the rules into all of the your application. So what it does is, like in the settings.php, it has done some changes, like it has done value is equal to, like we are doing array merge of two arrays, but both arrays has a single value, or maybe already defined value. So there is no meaning of doing array merge here. So what Rector is doing, it is saying that you can directly do this. And again, we were pushing some what we can say, some uh, uh, item into array, but it says like you can directly append like this at place of using array push, right? So that is what code quality does for us, right? After that, let's see the early return. So early return is something like whenever you are running some code, maybe like you are doing some stuff like this, and then suddenly you think that if condition is 0, okay, condition is to return tags and then value. So it is like no need to store that particular stuff into the value variable nowhere, and you can directly return the tags here at place of defining the variable, right? So that is what early return. So they don't need to go to the remaining lines, they don't need to read the remaining lines. Even if I remove this particular statement from here and like directly define value here. So now what actually happening, we are just assigning the values, right? So again, if I run the rector, okay, I think it may have some catching issue, whenever what we can say, Laravel rector runs, it stores some cache. So if we uh, like what we can say, change the config, it will update his cache. Okay, basically I think I'm missing something. No. Okay. Okay, let's move forward with the dead code rule set. So basically, when you are using a dead code set, it will be like it says like you have some code, but it is no unused. So it will just remove that particular code from our application. So let's run the dead code and let's see what happens. So it is saying that you have defined 5 into 1, 5 plus 0. So there is no meaning of doing 5 into 1, because it will be 5 only, and 5 plus 0, it will be 5 only, right? And we are doing C is equal to A plus B, that is as it is. And we are doing that C is equal to random int uh, 9 comma 10, so it will return either 9 or 10, and we just return that stuff. So it is like they are saying that 1 into 5 into 1 is not applicable here, same as. Let's check the code again, and maybe I define some variable here, dollar var is equal to something something, right? And I run that date code again. What it does, it removed that code which was written after the return. So it is like it is the dead code which is unused, so they have removed it. Maybe I can define some variable like Nepal here, and I define the value of it as a 5 and run I run it again, so it will remove that variable because it is unused, right? So it helps us to like ensure that we don't have any kind of dead code there, right? And even like we have lots of other like penalty of rules are there. You can search at like a rector only. You can search with the dead code or code quality group, then you will find that it is like it has some reverse condition method. It is included in the code quality, right? So whenever okay, I think something is fishy here. Okay, right. And we can check if is what headphone 3 has. So you can check that headphone 3 has. We have checked that add override attribute method for rector, right? So it is adding whatever parent method is overridden from the parent class. It will add override attribute for that particular method. And you can also check that there is a other like code quality, or we can say dead code stuff. So you can check that all rules are there, and whenever you think that these rules are applied for my project, you can add that particular rule or that particular set, and you can refactor your code automatically likewise, right? So like this is how you run the rector into your code, right? So let's back to the presentation. So this is all was for the like we can say for PHP, right? But we also have a Laravel rector. You can install it and with a like driftingly rector Laravel and run it as same as how we usually you run the rector. It is just extension for Laravel rector PHP. So you can see that this is the stuff. It has some predefined sets, and it has some set for like Laravel 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then it has some more code quality or and other rule sets you can apply. And it is created by like Anthony Clark, and also like the one of the most contributor to Laravel Rector and Rector is Peter Fox. So if you like Laravel Rector and his contribution, you may consider to follow him or sponsor him, right? So let's check what Rector Laravel Rector has for us. So let's close this stuff, we don't need it. So like where let's see one of the rule first. So like whenever see Laravel just upgrade like lots of time, and you may sometime find it like there is a lot of things to do, but that code is not breaking your stuff, but it is like it can be upgraded, right? So this is the rule like migrate to simplified attribute rector, right? So what it does, actually we can see I have post model and I have two methods into it, like get image attribute and set image attribute, right? But in latest Laravel version, we have like we can define a function called image, and we can return the attribute, right? So I have defined this rule, right? Let's run it and see how it works. Yeah. So basically what it has done, like it has created a protected image attribute. Then what it does is it has written the attribute, then whatever the like body part of the get image attribute was, it is added into the get closer, and whatever it was into the set attribute, it was added into the uh, set closer, right? So it is like we have used this particular stuff, right? Now we can see one more thing, that it is also converting closer, right? But what if you don't want to do that? Just you can copy this out and go to the rector PHP and say, I don't want to use this particular stuff, right? And just again run that particular command. Okay. And let's see what happens. So it will now do not convert your function into short and closer, right? So basically what happening here, they have just updated our Laravel code to newer version compatibility, right? So this is how it helps. Let's see one more examples. So suppose they have sets, right? I said like they have presets. So we can define v sets method, and we can define what kind of sets you wanna use. So first, like set is we are using is Laravel 11. So 0 is stand for 11.0, right? So basically, what it will do is, right? We have again in post PHP, we have one protected property called cast, right? And you may remember that the cast property was converted into the cast function in the Laravel 11, right? So let's run this Rector PHP again and see for speed. I am just saying that you should run in the app directory only, right? So basically now it will update our cast property into the cast method here, right? So it is like you are automatically upgrading your Laravel or PHP code by running just commands, right? So how easy it is, right? We have penalty of rules and like we can say like let's say one more let's see one more rule set which is called Laravel if helpers, right? So suppose let's open app service provider and say that if uh, if random 01 is equal to 1, then abort 500, right? Just I want to say that if random 01 is like we can say 1, then abort it, right? But whenever I run the Laravel vector, it will say that you don't have to write if for that. Laravel already have a function called abort if, right? And you can use it directly, right? Even if I was throwing some exception here, sorry, throw some new exception, right? And run the rector again, what it will do is it will say throw, there is a already throw if function you can use, right? Again, let's see one more set called like quality code, right? So let's go to the post controller where I have one function called like when the string is there, you should run this particular closure, right? But like for the just running the Laravel vector, I will say that when the string is not there, run this function, right? And I will run the rector again. So what it will do is, if you are doing not into the particular function, right? You don't need to, okay, sorry. You don't need to do that. You can directly do unless at place of that, right? So this is how Laravel vector will help you to improve your code quality. There are lots of more like what we can say uh, presets are there like this much and more than this, but I generally use this much. So I already have defined. So in this, basically this project is basic CRUD from like my repo. Like if you haven't seen, you can check it. So I have just modified the code little bit to show that how Laravel vector works, right? So, and even you can define more of presets uh, see, we have preset for carbon, we have preset for strict booleans, we have code quality, we have type declaration, right? So see, whenever I remove void from here, right? And maybe we can say, let's try it for with the void only for now, and run the Laravel rector again. So what it does is, let's wait a little bit. Yeah. So what it will do is it will add a void already here, just because we are not like returning anything here, right? But what if I do that, like while like return this particular stuff and run the Laravel vector again? Let's see what happens. What it does is it will add the post builder here, that you are returning the post builder, but you haven't what you can say, you haven't defined, right? So that is how Laravel vector works. So it was maybe part of the vector only, but like if we do some collection stuff here, let's see, let's try to do it, like collect some kind of uh, Laravel Bangalore, not banana, not uh, Bangalore, okay, Laravel Mumbai, Laravel Delhi, Laravel Chennai, right? And Laravel Addition. Okay, Ahmedabad is also fine, right? And what we can do is we just map here the string like this, right? And let's try to run Laravel vector again and see what it does. I haven't predicted the code yet, but let's see what happens. So what it does is it just add the return type. Maybe it wasn't able to like find out uh, the type of the array. Let's try with uh, new collection. Mm, collection. Sometimes it is like the more magic you use, the more type, the less type safe you are. Probably that can be the one of the reason why it wasn't able to like add. Okay, it is still not working. But that is what I was trying to say, that it try to check what data you are working and try to add like return types to it, or like types to it. Okay, so that is what Rector PHP was. Again, uh, see, you can also create custom rules to some like specific stuff. By you can automate some specific refactoring, or like enforce some team coding standards, like you wanna say that this should be done like this only, or this particular directory should classes should have this particular what you can say trait or interface. So that kind of stuff you can do. Modify rector's behavior for unique cases. Suppose your rector is doing some particular stuff, but you wanna do in some another way, so you can do that too. uh, how to create a custom rule, extend abstract vector, define some like node transformation, whatever you want to do, then register rule into your vector php, right? So this is how like after like at place of doing same problem review again and again into your ps, you can define a vector rule for it. Let's see how rector rule works. So I have already created one rector rule called where it is, yeah, this one. So basically you can see is uh, I have defined like you can firstly define the rule definition, where you can say what it does, and the like the actual code and the refactored code, how it will be look like. So this rule is for enums. So like in one of the conversation with the community and my team previously, we were like come to that enum should be in a Pascal case. So my whole project was having a like we can say snake case, capital snake case in all the enums. Then what I have done, I created the rector rule to like update the more than 50 enum classes with the whole source code, right? So this is how I've done. Like I defined the node types. So in our case, like the enum can be defined like what we can say, the case in the, let's see the example in the enum itself. Like I have feature state at enum. So this is the case. So this was the node we were talking about, the enum case, right? And here is self not featured. And maybe if we see the some references, no, it is not there. But in feature, okay, I cannot find it. But whenever you define uh like uh um featured status like this, so it will also fall into the uh class const fetch, right? So and see what reactor will do, whenever any of the node matches with one of them, it will pass into the refactor method, and where you have written the code how it should be changed, right? In our case, we have two types of like nodes. One is enum case and one is class const fetch. I mean, in enum case, it is clear we need to like convert it only, right? But in class constant, we can have stuff like we can say featured detection, some this this is also fall into this. If we have some constant like some con- constant, right? So this will be also fall into this. So we need some extra care for this particular case, right? So we have defined two methods, that refactor enum case and refactor enum case fetch, right? So what we are doing is we are checking that we are getting the name of the node which will return is featured or not featured. Then what we are doing is we are converting into the Pascal case, and we are checking that if old name is equal to new name, then don't do this, right? If old name is not equal to new name, then what we are doing, we are creating a new name of identifier. Like identifier is one of the class from the rector to define names. So this name will be also the identifier already. So what is happening here is we are overriding the name and return the node. So basically, if you are not doing any changes, it is good to return null at place of the node. If you're so it will boost some of the performance. So basically, if you are saying that replace same with the same, so it will also take some time, right? But you while returning the null, you can save some time. So let's see more thing, that refactor enum fetch. So what we are doing is, firstly we are checking that if it is enum fetch or not, right? So for that, before this, I was doing some reflection API and all. Then the Thomas Waterby himself like suggested me to do this. Like get type is there already, and you can check this if is enum. If yes, then you can directly see that it is enum, right? So basically what we are doing is we are getting the name and we are checking. So enum also can have like something like we have feature status enum, right? It can be also defined as a class, right? So we need to check if the name is a class or not, and it is null or not, right? So if it is there, something like this, we will return null. So basically it will not do anything, right? Other than that, we will update our node to snake case, right? And we will check again that if old name is not equal to new name, then update it. Otherwise, keep it as it is, right? Okay, some improvement I can see here. It is we can return null here or directly. Okay, but let run it and check what will happen, right? So basically, uh, okay. So now it is runnable. So we have, you can see, okay, it is actually already Pascal case. Maybe I was running this code a bit earlier and forgot to undo it. So let's do it. Yeah, you can do like this only, but if you have like 50 or more than what you can say uh, enum classes, you are not you will waste lots of time doing this, right? So let's see, we have another, I think, enum too, so maybe this will be also let's update it to title and is featured, right? And we can see that we have some stuff here, like in uh, feed controller, in a migration, in a taste, right? But right now we are not actually running our vector into the taste, so maybe it will not going to do that. But what we can do is we can say, I don't know if it is possible, but let's say rename let's call rename enum, right? So that is what we are defining right now. Let's see, let's try to run it. Yeah, it will be not changed into the taste directly for now, but let's do it. So basically, let's see what's happened. Okay, why it is taking time. Mhm. Okay. Sometimes it takes time. Let's close it and run it again. Mm, let's what happened. That is like whenever you running that stuff into like alone, it will work like hell. And whenever you run this particular stuff in front of someone, it will okay, right. That's what stuff it will do. Mm, okay, so what it has done is like in featured controller, it has updated that particular stuff into the from the capital snake case into the Pascal case. It has also done here. It has also done into the cases. It has also covered the self stuff. It also covered the case stuff. But we haven't run this particular stuff into the taste already. So, uh, mm, okay, I think you know that you let's do it right. Plus, I don't know if it is applicable or not. Let's keep it and move further. So, uh, so this is what how you can create custom rules for in a reactor and like improve your like code and save your time while reviewing PR or doing some same stuff again and again. After that, let's see some cones of reactor PHP. But it is like it is not cones of reactor PHP. It is like some people can think it can be a cone. So basically, like some transformation might introduce some unexpected changes which can require manual review. But it is like, see, you have if you have taste, you will know that the code is breaking. Otherwise, you need to check the manually. But it is like it is a rare case, but it is the code somehow. It has a learning curve, like especially when it has like more than 700 rules. So you may know all the rules, but it has some presets, so you can apply presets and still have some fun with Rectal PHP. Writing custom rule can be complex, right? You need to know what kind of node exists in the PHP, what stuff how you gonna like do some stuff, like you need to understand lots of stuff to create a rector PHP rule. performance can be slow for large projects. It is like not performance of your project. It can be like if you are running reactor PHP on big projects, right? It will take some more time to run the uh, like reactor and do some changes. Maybe it will be not that far slower into CI/CD. Maybe it will run the dry run. That's why. Other than that, it is like see after using reactor, you still need to know some other changes which is not like predicted, like what can be the change of this particular stuff for a newer version. So that all stuff are like outside of the reactor PHP. So you need to check for those stuff. Uh, so that is what it like look like. So basically, when you are running some reactor, you must check that the code is as expected or not. And especially if you have test, you should it will say that the code is breaking. So that is what it is. So whenever someone says that we need to refactor this manually, tell them to use reactor PHP. Thank you. Okay. Mhm. So yeah.
Okay, that was great. Thank you so much. It was a very informative talk, Punyapal. There's a lot I learned personally. Yes, it makes sense. Why would somebody do it manually when you have such good options by Rector PHP? So
Yeah.
really good. We have a lot of questions actually. I don't know if we are able to take them
Mhm.
all. Let's see
Yeah.
if we can take at least 3 to 4 of them. So the first
Yeah. Sure.
question is from Aditya. He's asking
Yeah.
how can we gradually add Rector PHP in large code bases without breaking the functionality? I
Mhm.
think you partly covered it, but maybe a little more elaboration on that.
Yeah. So basically, like, see, well, how, like, I have said that you can skip, or even you can define that I want to run the Rector PHP in particular directory. So wherever you are, I am confident enough to refactor this code by Rector PHP, you can define that such a stuff. And after that, you can even say that I don't want to use whole dead code. So these has some levels, right? You can go level by level. All the presets have some levels, like level 1, level 2, level 3. Like some of them have a 57 level. So they gradually add one or two rules. Even you can find there is a, like I already shown you before, that we have such a stuff that you can check for a particular rule, right? So you will find that the 649 rules are already listed, but we can see that it has already like this kind of this much of community packages already, and maybe some of the rules are already not added there. So you can check and apply rule one by one, or maybe added some stuff one by one, right? Maybe this was a answer.
Yeah, makes sense. That was a good one. We got it.
Mm.
So next question from Pushpak. He's asking, does a service like Shift use Laravel? I mean, sorry, Laravel Rector. What do you think?
It can be possible, or maybe it cannot. But see, it is like, but it can use a similar stuff. It is like, see, whenever Rector runs, it check what kind of node it is, right? So for this particular node, there is any function rule are there. It will pass that node into the that refactor method of that particular rule. So it can be possible that Shift is using Rector PHP, or it can if it is not using it, it is using similar approach. So that is what I can say.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Next question from Vibhuti. She's asking, while upgrading, will it help with the external packages that we use?
No, basically, if it is helping us, yeah, it can, because you can define the vendor folder into your rector, but it makes sense in some cases, yeah, and it doesn't make in some cases, because whenever you deploy the project, right, you will not going to run the rector on production, right? As I suggested, you should include the rector PHP as a dev dependency, right? So basically, whenever you are trying to do this kind of stuff, right, be careful with it. It can help, but if it is helping, it is not necessary you should use it for such a thing, right? And yeah, I remember one thing that the Pushpak shared that Laral shift. I think the filament using Rector PHP for providing such a smooth upgrades to newer versions. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I think that answers the question. And next we have a question from Saravana. He's asking, how is it different from PHP Stan and Laravel Pint? I think that's how it's
yeah,
pronounced.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we kind of say that the PHP CS fixer pin and Rector PHP is kind of same, but not fully. See, linting is linting and refactoring is refactoring, right? Uh, Rector uses more information of your code than I think the linter uses, and the PHP stand is like for the type safety and that particular stuff. It is not changing stuff for you. Like it is suggest that this kind of error is there. It is not capable of checking that this code can be refactored like this to like remove this particular error or something, right? Yeah, there is common things between pint and rector, we can say, but see, the use case is different, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question from Chinmay. He's asking, can the post builder FQCN be imported automatically?
Yeah, thanks for that particular thing. I forgot, I guess. Actually, that was in my plan. uh, See, I forgot to my last stuff, so let's do it. So basically, you can define that with import namespaces, and basically, I'm not preferring the import blocks defined into PHP docs. So I said that you shouldn't import that particular stuff. So you can sort that stuff. You can remove unused imports. So let's try to run this particular stuff with. We can say I will copy this, right, and probably remove it from here. I will say that you will do, right. I think this is what he is asking, right. Let's clear the terminal and run this again, and let's see what happens. Basically, yeah, so yeah, it can do, right. So I think thanks to remind me, I like forgot this particular part of my talk. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So, last question from Prem. He's asking, is it possible that Rector PHP can cause errors in code while upgrading using Rector? And is there any example or something that you have faced?
um See, yeah, I can say, see, we are developers, we are humans, right? And the Rectal PHP also written by the human, so it can break your code in some cases, maybe, right? And for example, I have like some examples in my current project, but I'm not able to show you. Maybe whenever we meet, as we meet weekly or monthly, so I will show you that, right? Okay.
Okay, that was really great. We learned a lot, and once again, thank you so much for accepting at a very short notice. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday when I reached out to you and checked with
Yeah.
you, like, is it possible to give a talk? And then you were like, ready. So that was a very good thing. We all learned a lot from you. Hopefully, we'll invite you as well, live in Bangalore where people can see you and talk to you and ask you more questions. Thank you so much. Any
Yeah.
last few words, Punyapal? Do you want to say something to the community?
Mm, yeah. Like, see, it is like learn every day, right? And even if you are learning something, just tell your colleagues that you have learned something new, right? That's how maybe you will know about more use cases. And if you find some use cases in future, maybe you already know, but you don't know this can be applied to this use cases. So you can like share information to others and you will learn more, right? That's it. Yeah,
Okay, thank you so much.
yeah,
See you sometime soon. Thanks for
yeah,
coming.
sure.
Bye
Yeah,
bye.
you- yeah.
Conclusion of the meetup. Everything has gone so well, and we got association of Peerless for this to spread a word, and all the graphics that you saw created it for us. And now we can see on this thing. So we just have a quick few words from the founder, the creator of Peerless. One of them, Yogini, will join us shortly. If you don't know, Peerless is the professional network. Yeah, Yogini is here already. It's a professional network to show and tell what you're working on. It's a platform to showcase your work, launch projects, find jobs, and connect with the most incredible people. So I'm very proud to say that a platform this good is coming. It's founded by Indians and it's funded, and it's by my good friends. So here, over to you, Yogini. A quick few words from you would be great.
Thanks a lot, Shruti. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, really amazing meetup. I've been watching this on YouTube, um, and couldn't believe that you folks actually pulled off a hybrid meetup so well. So congratulations, Shruti and entire Laravel Bangalore team. You guys have done a really good job. I'm so proud that I'm somehow associated with this meetup. Wanted to join this in person, but just couldn't make it. Hopefully, next time I'll be there in person to attend this meetup. I'm Yogini. I'm co-founder and CTO of Peerlust. I'm a developer from past 7 years, co-founder from past 2 3 years, exploring how we can build this product. So Peerlist is a professional network for people in tech. So we are building it to make sure that you have the most meaningful work profile and most meaningful networks. Um, so when we started building Peerlist, Peerlist started as a side project, and the idea was that how I can showcase my work. And we realized that showcasing your work is not that difficult, but the platform that we are using currently make us feel that. So we started with a mission that how we can simplify showcasing your work in the most easiest and most beautiful way. And that is how we started building Peerless Profile, which is the hero still of Peerless as a product. So right now, you can join and just integrate all your work across the internet onto your single profile, whether it's your articles, your newsletters, your GitHub contribution, your open source projects, your designs, or anything in between this. We are close to reaching 100K users, which has mostly developers, designers, founders, and anyone who works in and across tech. So, but today, specifically, after seeing the amazing demo of Launch by Karthik, I wanted to introduce all of you with something called Peerless Launchpad. So for the projects like Launch, um, we believe that there should be a platform where it is very easy to just share your projects with the world without the fear of getting judged, without the fear of how I can make sure that, okay, this is going in a perfect way or not, how I can get my first 10, 20 users. For all these purposes, there is a Peerless Launchpad. So the idea was pretty simple. And even Peerless Launchpad was an internal side project that we all started doing. That why not create a platform where we creating side projects becomes very easy to just share it with the world. You don't have to think that, okay, I have to craft a long, lengthy post, I have to click my selfies, I have to post it online, and then I'll get some value to my project. You just don't have to think about it. Just write about what you are building and launch it. So we call it that Monday is a launch day on Peerlist, because you get a weekend, you get to polish your side project, and you just have to launch it on Monday. So it's a weekly launch pad. People launch their side projects. They'll get some feedback, appreciation, some suggestions from the community. It's very similar to how Product Hunt do the launches, but mostly um, for the developers and designers that are doing it on a little smaller scale and who want a more exposure. Um, so yeah, apart from that, on Peerlist, you can also talk about what you're learning, talk about what you're building, share your small wins, share your questions. Then you can also find jobs, connect with people, write article. So it is the entire solution for you as a professional if you're working around tech. So, would love to see you folks on Peerless. I think some of you have already joined it, and yeah, I think I'm good. If someone has any questions or anything, would be happy to answer those.
All right, that's great. We do have Pushpak saying that Larasonic was launched on Peerlist, so
Oh,
that's
nice.
great. I'm sure, I'm sure a lot of people, lot more people will start launching their
Yeah.
projects now. Thank you so much for the support. Yeah, once again, we'd love to have you in. We'd love to host you in Bangalore someday, whenever that's possible. Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for
Thanks a lot, Shruti.
coming. At least appearing for a few minutes. That was nice.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think you folks are doing really good for the Laravel community. I started my development journey as a PHP developer, so I have a little bit of attachment to the entire community. So yeah, you folks are doing really good job.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. Lovely to have you. So I think we are ready to conclude our session now. We just have to talk about. Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us online and offline. We can't stop, or we can't like leave the session without mentioning some of our volunteers who really helped us here. One of them is Purnima. She really helped us, organize this setup, test it, and even right now she's on the live stream constantly checking if the audio is good, if the video is good, posting the questions to me so that I can ask you. That's really great. And Karthik has also been helpful in bringing in the speakers, and everybody else here, Aditya, Sarvana, all these people help us organize these meetups. Even you can, if you're in Bangalore, you can come over, you can come down. We have fun meetups almost every month. So we will soon announce our next meetup whenever it is. Of course, join our WhatsApp community. Once again, this is the QR code. You will get updates, no spam. We just talk about when our next meetup is, how you can join, or where it is, when it is, who are the speakers, agenda, so and so. So if you'd like to speak, offline speakers is what we generally accept, but you just apply here and you never know if the topic is really great. We might have online speakers, and the next hybrid meetup, whenever we do it, we can accept online applications. But if you're in Bangalore, this is also a great opportunity to come down and speak. So that's it. Thank you so much. Those of you here can, happy networking. Otherwise, someday do visit Bangalore, and we'll have a great time. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming over here. We're going to stop the live stream now, so we can all meet online on Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on. Bye bye. Take care, everyone.